where the sun filtered through the vast canopy like gold dust, life was a peaceful rhythm of chirps, howls, and contented sighs. The ruler of this tranquil domain was King Aslan, a majestic lion whose mane resembled a sunset, and whose wisdom was the quiet foundation of their harmony. He guided the animals not with a roar, but with gentle counsel, ensuring that every creature, large and small, understood the delicate balance of their home. Every morning, the jungle awoke to the sound of purposeful movement as the inhabitants set out to gather what they needed, knowing that their collective effort was the secret to their uninterrupted joy and security. Among the most dedicated workers was Dash, a young rabbit known for his powerful legs and boundless energy, who spent his days hopping through the thickets, carefully collecting the sweetest berries and the crispest clover. He, like all the others, understood that the daily ritual of gathering was not a chore, but a way to ensure everyone had fresh provisions and to appreciate the abundance of the forest. They labored side by side, the hummingbirds finding nectar, the beavers felling small branches, and the deer nibbling tender leaves, all contributing their share, driven by a simple, honest ethic of hard work and immediate reward. Watching this constant industry from the shade of a large, flowering fig tree was Reynard, the fox, whose mind was sharp but whose spirit was utterly devoted to the pursuit of leisure. He found the animals' relentless activity utterly exhausting, often muttering to himself about the sheer waste of effort, convinced that there must be a much simpler, more efficient, and certainly more relaxing way to secure a future of uninterrupted naps. Reynard believed that true genius lay in avoiding any strenuous task, and so his cleverness was dedicated entirely to plotting a grand scheme that would grant him, and perhaps everyone else, a long, well-deserved holiday from gathering. With his plan fully formed and polished, Reynard casually strolled into the main meeting space, where a small group, including a cautious deer named Elder, was resting. He began with smooth, buttery words, painting a beautiful picture of endless free time, asking why they toiled daily when the forest offered so much at once, suggesting they were slaves to their routines. "Imagine," he purred, "waking up not to work but to sunbathe. You are all too intelligent to waste your glorious days on such repetitive labor when one grand effort could purchase weeks of pure, uninterrupted relaxation." Reynard continued his persuasive argument, explaining his magnificent solution. All the food they currently possessed, and all that they could gather in one enormous effort, should be pooled together and stored inside the sturdy, dry cavern at the base of the Whispering Mountain. He promised that this singular, magnificent stockpile would be locked and guarded, ensuring security while granting everyone the freedom they deserved, a veritable banquet waiting for them when they chose to eat, eliminating the need for any further daily trips. The animals listened, their imaginations painting vivid pictures of the effortless days he described, and the temptation of total relaxation began to chip away at their lifelong commitment to diligence. The dream of days filled only with play and rest was too sweet to resist, and soon, one by one, the animals agreed to Reynard's innovative, if unorthodox, proposal, eager to begin their grand experiment in leisure. The entire jungle mobilized for the great gathering, an incredible sight as every creature carried their nuts, seeds, grasses, and fruits toward the designated cave, pooling their resources with an efficiency born of excitement. Pip, the quick-witted squirrel, was especially industrious, zipping back and forth with his cheeks bulging, convinced that one final burst of effort was a small price to pay for the promise of a long, well-deserved break. Finally, the cavern was completely full, a breathtaking treasury of the jungle's bounty, stacked neatly and reaching almost to the ceiling, truly enough food to last for weeks, if not months. King Aslan watched from a respectable distance, his brow furrowed with a mild concern he kept to himself as he saw the last bundles disappear into the cool, dark entrance. He appreciated the collective effort, but the sudden shift away from their established, balanced routine felt unsettling, and he worried that the lure of sudden luxury might dull the valuable lessons of responsibility and self-reliance that had always protected his people. Later that evening, after the last animal had wearily retreated to their home, dreaming of a work-free tomorrow. Reynard slipped back to the cave under the cloak of twilight. With a satisfied, wicked grin stretching across his muzzle, he produced a heavy iron lock that he had secretly acquired, snapping it shut on the sturdy wooden door the animals had fashioned. Holding the heavy, ornate key high above his head, he chuckled softly to himself, imagining the blissful days of feasting he had secured. Just for himself, of course. And then he tucked the key safely away beneath his soft new hammock before falling asleep in the deepest, laziest slumber of his life. The next morning, the animals awoke feeling delightfully rested, their stomachs rumbling gently, ready for a small, effortless trip to the communal pantry for a quick meal before their day of relaxing began. However, their excitement evaporated into dismay when they reached the cave and found the door not just shut, but secured by a massive, unfamiliar lock. A murmur of confusion quickly escalated into panic when the animals realized the key and Reynard were nowhere to be found. They stood staring at the impenetrable barrier, their once abundant future suddenly looking empty and very, very hungry. Aslan, hearing the worried cries of his subjects, quickly arrived to restore order, his voice calm and firm as he asked the gathered crowd to take a deep breath and recount the facts. Pip, the tiny squirrel, scampered up to the king's shoulder. His little eyes narrowed with suspicion, declaring that only one creature had passionately advocated for the new system and had since disappeared. Reynard. "He promised us rest, King Aslan," squeaked Pip, his voice tight with frustration. But all he delivered was a clever trick and a very locked door, proving that his scheme was motivated not by generosity, but by simple, selfish greed. Seeing the shared disappointment and the common problem, the naturally brave Dash approached the intelligent Pip, suggesting that instead of wallowing in self-pity, they should focus their combined strengths on a solution. Pip, whose mind was already spinning with possible strategies, quickly outlined an ingenious plan to retrieve the key from the lazy fox, which required speed, stealth, and a perfectly timed distraction. They recognized that while Reynard was clever, he was also predictable in his love for comfort, and that their success relied not on strength, but on teamwork, and exploiting the fox's well-known dedication to his luxurious nap time. The first step of the plan was put into action. Dash, using his amazing speed, bounded directly toward the thicket where Reynard was predictably sleeping in his new hammock, making sure to crash noisily through the undergrowth just beyond the clearing. The commotion was just enough to startle the fox, who awoke with a bewildered snarl, immediately jumping out of his hammock to investigate the source of the ruckus. Dash kept up the energetic ruse, running large, looping circles around the edge of the clearing, drawing Reynard further away from his secluded resting spot with every passing second. While Reynard was fully engrossed in trying to catch sight of his speedy, phantom troublemaker, the true hero of the moment, Pip, was silently carrying out his vital mission. The tiny squirrel, moving like a shadow, zipped straight to the still swinging hammock, his small eyes quickly locating the telltale glint of metal hidden beneath the cushion. With nimble fingers and a silent effort, Pip carefully pulled the heavy, ornate key free from its hiding spot, securing it tightly between his teeth before scampering back up the nearest tree to observe the successful distraction. As soon as Dash received the all-clear signal, a tiny, high-pitched whistle from the canopy, he stopped his chase and disappeared back into the undergrowth, leaving a confused and winded Reynard scratching his head. Pip, key safely retrieved, raced back to the hungry crowd waiting anxiously by the cave, leaping from King Aslan's shoulder to the lock, where he quickly and expertly turned the heavy mechanism with a loud, satisfying clunk. The door swung open, revealing the massive, beautiful stockpile of food, prompting a joyous roar of relief and gratitude from all the animals, who instantly understood that this victory was a testament to their clever teamwork and mutual trust. Reynard, tired and defeated, finally returned to the main clearing, only to find the door wide open and the animals already happily and fairly distributing the food among themselves, realizing that his grand scheme had utterly failed. He saw the genuine collective happiness in the jungle, a joy that his solitary greed and fleeting laziness could never provide, and he finally understood that true contentment was found not in trickery or avoiding work, but in honest effort and being a valued, trusted part of a caring community. King Aslan offered him a gentle, nourishing piece of fruit, a quiet invitation back to honesty and cooperation, reminding the entire jungle that the strongest foundation for happiness will always be one built on shared responsibility and truth.